Django, have you always been alone? Django, Django, have you never loved again? Love will live on, life must go on, for you cannot spend your life regretting.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome back to the channel. I'm Cult Cinema 83, and this is episode 20 of the Cult Cinema podcast. And as you can see, I'm once again joined by my fellow YouTuber and pretty much, well, a regular guest almost now, James from Poliziotteschi and Gialli Reviews. James, how have you been? How are you? And are you looking forward to doing this episode?
Yeah, I'm well. I am very much looking forward to doing this episode. Yeah, these are definitely two of my favorites. I've seen them several times. So, yeah, looking forward to discussing them.
There you go. Yeah. I mean, last time we did a bit of a sidetrack. We went to Hong Kong. We talked about Johnny To, of course. And I'm sure in the future, at some point, we will go back there. But for now, I thought it would be fun to just talk about our love for the Italian cinema, of course, and talk about Westerns, because we are talking about Sergio Corbucci today. Probably like one of the three high-water mark spaghetti Western directors. Would you agree with that?
I would agree. And I think probably if you asked most spaghetti Western enthusiasts, they'd probably put him number 2, right in the middle.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of funny because, I mean, not a lot of people talk about Sergio Sollima, which is kind of odd, I think, because I don't know, maybe it's because he only made like a few movies or whatever. He did I think he did 3 Westerns and 3 Euro crime, and then 3 was it Euro spy things? I think it was.
I think that sounds right. Yeah. But they're all, I mean, I haven't seen his Euro spy, so I can't, I confess ignorance there, but his Eurocrime and his spaghetti Westerns are all pretty much like top of the genre, in my opinion, at least.
Yeah, no, I would agree. But yeah, he you don't hear people talk about him a lot. So that's kind of interesting. But yeah, Sergio Corbucci, which I think is a very interesting director. He probably directed like half a dozen spaghetti Westerns in his career, more than Sergio Leone anyway. But before we dive into the movies and stuff, because this is our first time talking about Westerns, actually, spaghetti Westerns. Sure. So I was a bit curious to know, what is your overall enjoyment of spaghetti Westerns, and how do you place it in the context when you look at Giallos and Poliziotteschi and stuff? Where does it fall on the sort of flavor palette, if that makes sense?
Yeah, that's a good question. For me, at least, I was introduced to the genre first before those. So it was like kind of the first one I really liked, and I ended up kind of liking the other ones more. To me, the heights of the spaghetti Western are about as high as any kind of genre film can go, like the top end. But for me, at least, kind of like that mid-level stuff, I'd much rather watch the other two genres. So it has this kind of interesting space where I really, really, really like the, I don't know, 10 or 15 spaghetti Westerns. And after that, I have less of a desire to rewatch some of like the more, I don't know, Sabata or Sartana, or like some of the more run-of-the-mill ones. I'd rather watch kind of, I don't know, one of Sergio, I'm getting all the Sergios mixed up. Sergio Martino's Jollies or something like that instead, for like the 5th time or whatever, like Strange Vice of Mrs. Ward or something like that. Yeah, somehow we're about 4 minutes in and we've talked about 4 different Sergios. So yeah, that's kind of how it is for me, which is why my channel is focused more on Poliziotteschi and Gialli, not because I don't like spaghetti westerns. I really like some of them. Just that I'd rather talk about kind of like more of the deep cuts with those genres than spaghettis.
Yeah, no, it's very interesting. Like you said, you have like the top, I would say the top 20 or whatever, which are pretty actually really great films. And but ultimately the spaghetti western became kind of like a joke of itself. It became more comedy. We all know the Trinity films or whatever, very slapstick and very lighthearted and like lots of humor and stuff, and not all that great, honestly. But there are definitely some golds there. But I think you're right. The genre is definitely not as rich as Giallos or Poliziotteschi's. But I think that's also because, I talked about this with Steven from TV Nash, actually, where we basically said, like, Giallos and Poliziotteschi's, they're much more deep and themed, based in themes, and they very often they have subtext and social commentary and all of that. Whereas spaghetti westerns are more like, it's almost like an escapist fantasy, really, where it's like, when you were a kid, you wanted to dress up as cowboy. It's kind of like, it's a bit more on the fun factor and has a bit more of it doesn't take itself too seriously in a lot of ways.
I would agree with that for, I think, the most part. The funny thing is we're talking about Sergio Corbucci and the other Sergio is Salima too. Those two are probably both like, along with maybe Damiani too, you could toss him in there, have like the most kind of subtext of the spaghetti westerns. But I think for like 95% of the stuff, including probably Leone, he dabbled with some stuff, certainly with Once Upon a Time in the West, but I think it is missing that kind of subtext that you're definitely going to get in the more contemporary set Italian films.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Especially when in one of the films that we are going to discuss, which we'll get to. So we are going to talk about Sergio Corbucci's Django, of course, and The Great Silence, which are both. We'll talk about it anyway. So which one would you like to start with, actually?
I would lean towards Django just because it came first.
Okay, fair enough. All right. So Django, yes, from 1966, of course. Quick synopsis here: a coffin dragging gunslinger and a prostitute become embroiled in a bitter feud between a clan of Southern racists and a band of Mexican revolutionaries. Yeah, the plots for westerns often aren't very complicated here. That's basically what it is.
And you just read that plot, you're like, oh yeah, that's definitely like a spaghetti western. I don't know which one, but that's a spaghetti western.
Yeah. I'm not making this up. I just take these synopses from IMDb, and that's where I get them from. It's like, yeah, that's basically the plot. So yeah, it's kind of funny. But anyway, Django. Before again we dive into positives, negatives, and stuff, what are some of your general thoughts about Django, and how do you feel about it? Where you place it in the era of the spaghetti westerns?
Yeah, I think it's really interesting. I think it makes sense as kind of like the best, kind of like the earliest, like very good example of a western that Corbucci did. Just because it came before like Companeros, The Mercenary, and The Great Silence, which we're going to be talking about. And I think in some ways it feels very inspired, and in other ways it feels a little bit more kind of going into more of the familiar tropes. You could tell there's a lot of Yojimbo, a lot of Fistful of Dollars in kind of the construction of it. But there's also some like legitimately like shocking, amazing moments. Like, we'll get into it, I'm sure. But what he's carrying in that coffin, that's pretty much an A+ right there. So in some ways, it's not my absolute favorite Corbucci Western, but I've come to really, really like it. There's a lot of stuff to like, even though some of the times it does kind of fall onto more familiar tropes.
Right. No, that it's absolutely true. I think in a lot of ways this is like kind of like it uses the same blueprint as A Fistful of Dollars does, where you said it takes inspiration from Yojimbo, of course. But I mean, I think there are some very valuable things in here in what Corbucci does with it. And like you said, it has balls. It goes places in a lot of ways. Maybe not as much as another spaghetti western of Corbucci, which we'll go into later on. But yeah, I think there is definitely merit there. I mean, you know, maybe I don't know where I put it. Actually, I'm actually a very huge fan of this film. I mean, it's no Once Upon a Time in the West for sure, but it's definitely. I think there is value in here for sure. Yes. So yeah, I mean, it's a very interesting film. So let's just dive into it. You know what? Well, let's start with positives. What do you really appreciate about Django, and what are some of the things that you take away from this Western?
You know, there's some really obvious stuff, but I'm going to talk a little bit about just the feel of it. And I mean, those Italians, like, certainly in some like the English language dialogue, maybe not the best, but in terms of like setting and atmosphere, and this includes like Giallo for sure, they're just really good. I mean, there's just some incredible sets. This film, I'm reminded every time I watch it of how much of a nasty, muddy film it is. Like they're just, I mean, you even have like prostitutes in a mud fight, which some people say is excessive. I'm gonna say, well, what's the point of these spaghetti westerns if we're not going to get a little excessive at times? So yeah, it's like nasty, and I really like it. Yeah, I mean, it's not. It kind of removes, both of these films aren't taking place in that really, really dusty West so much as this one is just like kind of stepping into just like a mud pie of just like the whole town. It's just like nasty. I mean, it's just like you just feel the filth coming up there. I mean, Franco Nero, his face is like mud caked at different points. As like the quicksand. So I really that's definitely kind of figures prominently in my notes from this watch, is just how muddy and how much of a kind of a gritty feel Corbucci gives this film.
No, yeah, I totally agree. And you know, like you said, these two spaghetti westerns, like you said, are so unique because like you know, most spaghetti westerns or most westerns in general would just take place in the desert or whatever, like, you know, hundreds of them do. But these two feel very different in that way. And to kind of go along with that, I would like to give my first positive as well. And I think you know, I want to talk about the amazing production design, which you already kind of hinted to. And honestly, it shows how good of a director Corbucci is, because I'm sure you know this, because originally he wanted Django to take place in the snow. And but the producers said no, because they said snow is too expensive, as they usually do. That's the producer way, I guess. But then Corbucci basically demanded, like, you know, okay, if I can't have snow, I want mud, and you know, and he got away with it because, you know, Django has lots and lots of mud, like you said, and you know, I mean, the whole, you know, the main backwater town that it takes place in, which is of course shot on the back lot of the studios, of course, which is a lot easier. But it's just, the whole set is just covered with it. And it just looks and smells completely disgusting, which works so well, I think. I mean, you get the impression that like most of the people of the Old West evade this place with all of their energy and stuff, because you know, on purpose, exactly because of that. But it just, again, it just proves an old saying from someone I know who actually works in the industry. You don't get what you deserve, you get what you negotiate. And ultimately, I think the film's success allowed the studio to concede and Corbucci, of course, finally got to make his snowbound Western. But in order to get there, he had to get really dirty with lots of mud. So but I think it works very well, because how this film looks is just, it's so great. It's so great. Do you agree with that?
Absolutely. And this is my first time seeing it in kind of like, I saw the Arrow Blu-ray, which I bought for this. And I previously, my previous experiences were with much worse quality prints of it. And so, yeah, it really shines. I mean, it's really let me see how great the set design was. I mean, we can get into some of the costume design too, which is also pretty fun as well. But yeah, no, I completely agree with everything you said.
Right. Yeah. It's yeah. I really want to talk about costumes when we get to the great silence, because costumes. But anyway, yeah. I mean, it just looks so great. I mean, like the first shot where you see the town and you see the main street, the main street, so to speak. It's just like. You don't want to go in there. That's terrible. Like, that's really bad. It's like all you need is some garbage bags or whatever, and it's just so gross. But it works really well. Yeah. Speaking of, but you already mentioned it. Speaking of Franco Nero, let's just talk about the acting here. The main one, of course. Franco Nero as the main hero or anti-hero, maybe. And he's such a strange and enigmatic persona in this throughout the whole film, which never reveals like the true nature of the character. But introducing this whole mysterious stranger and almost hermit-like character in the Old West, who oddly drags like a big coffin behind him, of course. I think that's a really cool image. The start of the movie where he's just like strolling across like the wasteland and stuff. It's just really amazing, especially when you find out finally, eventually, what's really in that coffin. It's just like, I mean. We're spoiling anyway. Let's just say it. If you're gonna carry anything in a coffin, it might as well be a Gatling gun. Really, that's so funny. And I remember the first time I saw that, it was like, wow, that's really inventive. I expected some gross like skeleton to come out or whatever. It's like, nope, it's just a big gun, and he just blasts like that's.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, if you're coming up with like iconic moments of not even just spaghetti westerns, but just westerns, period, like the moment where he takes out the gun and just shoots everyone down, that has to be amongst there. It's like just such an amazing point, and just seeing everyone's reaction, seeing like the Major's reaction where he's like, oh fuck. I mean, you see how many people they come into town with. I mean, it's just it's just a A++.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. And probably that's the most iconic scene of the film, but it's classic. So yeah, it's really great. So let's just continue with the acting. Do you like the other performances as well?
Mostly. I think Corbucci does a really good job. I mean, this was a very common trait during the time of just Italian cinema, is just like casting a lot of unique faces. So it's like all the villains and stuff. I mean, even the ones that are kind of cut from kind of just a very familiar cloth, they have they're good faces. So you just remember them, like the Major and people like that. So I don't know. I'm trying to think if anyone really stood out. Like Maria, she was fine. I wouldn't say she really stood out to me, at least. But I'd say everyone is pretty solid. I don't know if anyone is like a standout performer in the way that maybe the next film there are a bunch of them.
Yeah, no, I mean Franco Nero is definitely the star of this. For
Agreed,
sure.
Yeah. And I don't know about you, but I think this is like the earliest Franco Nero that I've seen.
Well, I mean, that's the thing. I watch like you. I'm getting into Damiani stuff.
Sure.
And I have seen I forgot the name of the title where he's like in prison or whatever.
Yeah, isn't that a few years later though?
Oh, is that later? Oh, okay. I don't know. Anyway,
yeah, it's same era though. He's very young in that.
oh, okay. Well, anyway, I watched that. I thought that was earlier, but I could be wrong.
I could be wrong too.
Yeah, but there is like another one, and they still haven't released that. I don't know if you've seen that, but like Confessions of a Police Captain.
Yeah. I like them.
I hear really good things about that, but Radiance hasn't released that yet, so I don't know. But I'm sure you're right. Those movies came after, but yeah, no, I don't know. I get these things mixed up. I think actually the first performance I saw from Franco Nero was what we already talked about, like oh my God, names. The Castellari Poliziotteschi.
Okay,
High Crime. That's what it was. High Crime. I think that's the first performance I saw from Nero. But no, he's definitely great in this. But I would say that I like the two villains as well in this. Like you have two villains here. Major Jackson, of course, played by Eduardo Fajardo. I'm pretty sure I butchered that, but it's a character who is basically the leader of the old West's version of the Ku Klux Klan, basically.
Yeah.
I mean, that's kind of what it is, right? I mean, people with all the red backs over their faces and stuff.
They just don't have white. It's like an alternate version. Yeah.
I mean,
Corbucci in a couple of those films, like the main villains are these like people from the Civil War, the American Civil War, that fought for the South that have just taken the loss really, really badly. I mean, Hellbenders is the other one that comes into mind. The Joseph Cotton character in that one. That he reminds me a lot of Major Jackson in this one.
Yeah, no, that's fair. That's fair. Joseph Cotton is kind of the same character in a lot of ways. But yeah, and then of course there is General Hugo Rodriguez. I believe he's played by Jose Bodalo. Again, I'm sure I butchered that, but who is probably one of the most violent revolutionaries I think I've ever seen in a movie. It's like, but I feel like both characters are like very strong as like antagonists to Django's character, if you will. How do you look at that?
Yeah, they're cut in a familiar cloth that we know kind of the character archetypes there. But I feel like Corbucci just goes that extra mile. It's like the introduction to Major Jackson. It's like him just shooting down Mexicans and letting them loose. I mean, that's like a pretty ridiculous, very violent, like, oh, this guy is just like a piece of work. And then General Hugo, in the first 30 seconds that we see him, he like cuts off an ear and shoots a guy in the back. I mean, so it's like these guys are clearly adversaries in that same way. They're good foils to each other. I like both. I mean, they're both kind of what I said. They're sort of they have great faces, very memorable. And so I think they're both really, really solid compliments to Nero in this film.
Yeah, totally. So what other things do you appreciate about Django?
Let's see. There's a lot of good sweet sequences. I think honestly, I don't know at what point that machine gun or the Gatling gun happens, but that first half an hour I think is pretty perfect. Up until that point of just like introducing you. It does like these I feel like Corbucci has a good understanding of kind of like the familiar genre tropes, and he is good at just twisting them slightly, like the way that the film opens, where we have them like it kind of introduces it and fakes us out as if like Nero is the one rescuing Maria, but actually it's like Major Jackson's men initially because they want her for themselves to enact their own justice, and then Nero finally saves them from there. And I feel like that's very emblematic of the film, of just how it's like you think Nero is kind of like this kind of you think he's a nicer guy than maybe he actually is, his actions would say. And I think it's really good at kind of showing that anti-hero in kind of the way that it just manipulates these genre tropes. certainly in the first half an hour, but throughout the film too.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think you're right about that. I think the first like 30 minutes, I think the Gatling gun comes around 30 minutes. And that's a very strong first half. I think the third act is very strong as well. The second act is like has some pacing issues, but it's to be expected. It's where the story's told. But I think you're right about like there is this common theme in Corbucci westerns where it's like so a lot of the times it's all about private justice, and like you said, like they want Maria basically for their own sort of gain. So it's all about like me with all these characters basically in a very nasty way, of course, often. But yeah, I mean. That's definitely a common theme here. So, but I think what also needs to be mentioned is the score done by Louis Bacalov. He also did a lot of soundtracks for Poliziotteschi's and other westerns, of course. And he has such a unique sound as a composer. And I get it. When a lot of people think about European westerns, they probably can only come up with, Signor Morricone, basically. But I think there are a lot of composers in the genre that make really good scores. And I think Bacalov is one of those. By the way, you think that if you open your movie with an actual song, you think they would have made a video clip of that and and put it on MTV or whatever, but that never came to fruition. So it's like that's kind of interesting, I guess. So but how do you look at the score?
I love it. It's super memorable. I watched this film a few days ago. I still got that score stuck in my head. The Django, the whole catch. It's really great. I mean, I think it's right up there with the Morricone scores as being like very, very memorable. I mean, these Italians it's not like they just had one guy that was really good at scoring films. They had such a deep roster during this like 60s, 70s era. It's just, I don't know. Yeah, it's a fantastic score. And he's done, I mean, like, it's not the only great score that Bacalov has done. I think he did Caliber 9 too. That one's pretty fantastic as well.
Yeah.
And that's like totally different from this one. So like, obviously this kind of composer had a lot of range as far as what they could do.
Yeah. Yeah, no, of course, absolutely, and like I said, you think you would make a capitalize on the movie and make a video clip of the song, but like I guess they didn't go for that. But no, the score is very good, and I have like a soundtrack CD somewhere in my attic or whatever. I have to look for it, but but I have to say though, the sound it's really they really amped it up, because I also watched it on the Arrow release. I'm sure you got the same one. So
exactly. Yeah.
And it's the sound is really good on this. Actually, it's really great. But
I have a question for you. Do you watch these with English or Italian?
Oh, you mean language?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Italian always.
Okay.
it's because I'm just so I'm not averse, but I'm so mixed on the dubbing and stuff.
Sure.
Like for example, recently I rewatched Lucio Fulci's House by the Cemetery. And by the way, I don't know if you know that already.
Very nice. Very nice.
Drinking mug right there from anyway. But I recently rewatched House by the Cemetery, which I think is a great film. But when you watch the English dubbing, I mean the voice actor who does the kid, like Bob, he is like the most annoying person that I will ever hear. And it's like I can't do it for some reason. I don't know. So I will always watch the Italian version with English subtitles. That's just me. So I don't know what you do, but
Your preference is the same as mine, but I will say that I have. So I mean, it's like sometimes my local theater will show these films, and I'll be trapped with kind of the English dub. I'm like, oh shit, I should have thought of that before I came. So I have seen the English dubs more. Or sometimes it's like you're getting it from the gray web or something, and so you're stuck with the audio file. Especially like I don't know, 15 years ago when you're going on to certain sites and you only have so many options as far as that goes. But yeah, I watched it with the Italian. I think the problem with this one in particular with the English too is my understanding is that Nero didn't dub his own voice, and usually he does. So I kind of like Nero's English voice too, so I don't mind it so much him. Um, but having someone else, I found it distracting in the past. The person that's dubbing the English voice for Nero, but I watched it in Italian this time, so it was pretty much fine.
Okay. Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, I like Franco Nero's voice actually in
Me
the
too,
English
yeah.
one. It's really good actually. But yeah, I mean, and that's what I still don't get because like you said, they give you both versions on this release. Because recently I talked with TV Nash, Steven from TV Nash. We also did a Western. We talked about Leone, and we did for a few dollars more. And I got the Arrow release as well. And they have like on all three of them, the whole Dollars trilogy, they have like the Italian version, except for a few dollars more.
Oh, weird. Okay.
So I'm stuck with the English version, which is kind of
Yeah,
why? I don't know.
that is weird. The Dollars trilogy is a little tricky too because like it's like the main actors are English too, so you kind of I've seen that one more often than not with the English. I would say. So
Yeah.
I don't know. That is interesting, huh? I have to
Yeah,
think about that
it's
one.
kind of funny. We had a fun discussion about that. It's like, why? What? That's weird. But anyway, so yeah, I mean, what other positives do you have about Django, if you have any?
Yeah, I mean, I think just in general, the way that Corbucci approaches it, just kind of as like the director too, is just very interesting. If especially if you contrast him versus um even Selima, but especially in Leone, where Leone has such these grand, like such moments of grandeur, it's so beautiful, a lot of poetry and stuff. And Corbucci is just like he's getting there in the mud. A lot of times his stuff is just like messier in general, and kind of like I say that in like a good way. Like he's more willing to tackle like just these really, really ugly characters, these ugly themes. It's like the racism in this film, as well as in
Oh,
Great Silence and stuff. It's like you just have a lot of people that are just like pieces of crap. I
yeah,
mean, if we're being honest, it's like
yeah.
and I love it. I mean, like it adds a great color to the film. So I appreciate that he's going. I think the subtext of Great Silence is probably a little richer than this film, but I do think there's that kind of consistent subtext throughout his filmography. Certainly, when you're having people that have lost the Civil War, in the case of this, and are kind of like forming, I don't know, for lack of a better word, a gang of vigilantes, or maybe that's not the right way to put it, but whatever Major Jackson's gang is, and the Mexican Revolution films and like the Zapata ones that he did, it's like those are loaded with political subtext too. So I really appreciate just him. He really complements Leone in a lot of ways by showing you an alternate path to the genre that you can really appreciate rather than becoming like, I don't know, a weaker version of Leone.
Right. No, absolutely. I agree. And it's interesting because, like you said, he goes for the nasty side and the more brutal side of the Old West, so to speak, in a lot of his films. I mean, maybe even more so when we go to the Great Silence. But and of course, like you said, the Great Silence, I think, also has more to say in general. But there is definitely subtext here. But yeah, I mean, just the brutality of some characters that he has in his films is very. I don't know. Maybe I shouldn't be surprised because his assistant director was Ruggero Deodato. So it's like. And by the way, I don't want to presume to say that like Ruggero Deodato or Corbucci are like racists or whatever. Not at all. But there is definitely like if you have your assistant director be Ruggero Deodato, maybe some of it rub off on you, Corbucci. I'm just saying. But
Yeah.
no, he definitely goes for more grit in his films, and Django certainly has that. I feel like Django has it a little bit more than The Great Silence, even though The Great Silence goes places too.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
we'll
I think
talk
the
about
mud
that.
definitely. I mean, I think the mud just moves it up 2 grit levels right there. Just like
Yeah,
how muddy and nasty the whole film is.
exactly. Yeah, exactly. So yeah, no, absolutely. I agree. It's very and again, it makes it a very unique sort of entry in the genre as well. So but on the other side of that, I mean, it triggered this movie to be banned basically in a lot of countries. So was it a good thing eventually? To go that edgy? I don't know. It's like, do you want your movie banned in like every country or whatever? I don't know. Maybe people would look at that differently now, but yeah, I don't know. I guess it's the times, right? I mean, like,
Yeah.
how do you look at that?
I mean, personally, I mean, I just view it very selfishly, but for a film viewer like myself, I'd rather they go don't pull their punches at all. And that's one thing I really admire about these Italian films, especially like someone like Corbucci. He's just willing to do it. He doesn't care so much about the implications or if he ends up banned in different countries or whatever. I mean, maybe he does care, but I'd rather see his unadulterated vision in this case.
Yeah, no, yeah, absolutely. Me too. The same goes for me as well. So yeah. So let's see. I think I pretty much had all my I've discussed all of my positives here. I do have some issues with it, but before I go into those, I'm gonna let you finish up. Do you have any more positives on the film?
No, I think we did most of it. I would agree with, by the way, how you described the acts, where the first act is probably the strongest, and it concludes pretty well too. But it does fall a little in the middle. Anyways, yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Okay. So I have, because even though I love this film, there are some issues that I have with it. I would like to start with, I have two. I want to start with a small one and then I move on to the big one. So and you already brought this up, but I feel like the female character of Maria, played by Loredana Nusciak, again, I probably butchered that. But the female character of Maria just isn't that interesting at the end of the day. I feel like her character is a little bit underdeveloped, even though she's supposed to be like the love interest for Django's persona. But in my opinion, that angle is very flat, and I think they could have done more with her while writing the script, maybe. And I understand the movie is not about her specifically, but I mean, it's not Jill from Once Upon a Time in the West, but I don't know. It's just kind of bothered me, and I think Corbucci could have made her a slightly bigger part in the movie, and that to me is just a little bit of a letdown. How do you feel about that?
I think you're right. Definitely. It bothers me less than it used to, maybe just because I've come to expect it. It's just like
Mm.
I expect very little, which is not a good thing of female parts in these spaghetti westerns. Just because like Jill and Once Upon a Time in the West, those are the exceptions to the rule. For the most part, there are pretty like it's not a great genre for women necessarily. This or Poliziotteschi for that matter. Like usually they're resigned to like I don't know nagging wives or prostitutes. It's pretty much the only two roles that you see.
Yeah.
And Maria unfortunately is no exception. I do think maybe the main female role in the next film is a little bit better, a little bit more of an improved version of Maria, but we'll get to that when we talk about that film.
I think the female character in the Great Silence is a lot better than
Yeah.
this one, but we'll talk about it. But yeah, it's kind of yeah. I mean, I guess when you are talking about strong female characters, it's you lean more towards the giallo in a lot of ways. I think the giallo is.
Yeah, go ahead. Sorry, I agree.
No, I was saying I think the giallo is probably the best example for to have strong female characters. And some in the Poliziotteschi as well, but you're definitely right. In the spaghetti western, it's a lot of the times it's just prostitutes or whatever. So
yeah, or some sort of victim. I'm trying to think about Corbucci, and I do think his female characters did progressively improve. Because this is one of the earlier spaghetti westerns. I think I get the mercenary and companeros mixed up because they're very, very similar to one another. But I think one of the main leads in one of those is a woman that does pretty well in it. If I'm remembering it correctly.
I think it's the mercenary because I recently rewatched that.
Yeah,
and I think it was the mercenary. Yeah, and
that's like a pretty. I mean, that's a far more powerful role than typical spaghetti westerns.
Yeah, a more powerful role in a very funny movie. I mean, if you have Jack Palance like shooting at cowboys from an airplane. I mean, that's kind of like that's that's going there a bit, but yeah.
Really likes his birds in that movie.
Sorry.
Really likes his birds in that movie.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. So, but yeah, I think it was the mercenary. Yeah, that's where. Yeah, so that's not like the I don't know. It's just kind of it sticks out a little bit.
Sure.
My big issue for this film, by the way, and this is going to depend on what kind of viewer you are, I think, because we already discussed this, but this is one of the most violent spaghetti westerns for sure. I think it's safe to say that. And I feel like that might just not be everyone's cup of tea. It's easier to accept a darker and more serious tone when you look at the giallo or the Poliziotteschi, because again, there's often subtext or social commentary or whatever. It makes you think. And I think a lot of people might want to hold on to a certain escapism that comes with the Western genre, that it's often known for. Containing a certain comic relief in a lot of cases, and having a kind of fantasy element to it. So a Western this serious and this brutal might not be a trigger of enjoyment for some viewers. That's all I'm saying. And that's I don't know. It weighs heavily on the film, though, I would say. This is definitely a love or hate movie. I think there is not really like a lot in between. So what's your take? How do you feel about that?
I love the violence. But I recognize that I am I have my own taste, so I wouldn't begrudge anyone for that. The violence is, I mean, you almost expect these spaghetti westerns to be extremely violent, but this one goes even beyond that. I mean, just that scene with the Gattling gun, and it's just brutal. I mean, like nearly everyone in this film just gets it. I mean, a lot of them deserve to get killed probably, but this Corbucci does not pull his punches. He goes somehow even darker in the next film, but it's like people get it. I mean, like even that final, like right before the final confrontation, where Major Jackson goes to the saloon to figure out where Django is, and he just guns down the owner of the saloon. Is something that clearly Django didn't expect, or the saloon owner. Otherwise, they would have probably done it a little bit differently. But it's just brutal. I mean, like innocent people, everyone is just getting mowed down in the movie.
Yeah, no, and also at the start of the movie, like when we are introduced to Maria, I mean, she has her clothes torn off, and she is like just horsewhipped. It's like it's it's really rough. And again, we love it, but I'm not sure if it's everyone's taste.
I think that's accurate. Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know. It's not a negative for me per se, but I can see how it might be an influence for other people. That's all I'm saying. So
Sure.
Yeah. So those are my issues that I have with it. Do you have any like negatives or issues with Django?
A little bit too. And
Okay.
for me at least, I think it mostly falls in that second act. In my opinion, the main problem with it is just it peaks so early. And for me at least, it peaks on the Gatling gun scene.
Yeah.
And so I think it ends up coming across a little uneven. Not that the second act is bad, because Corbucci is a good director. He knows what he's doing. But it's kind of like a sports team or whatever that starts out and they win like 10 games in a row to start the season. And then all of a sudden they kind of come back to earth a little bit. And that's to me what it feels like a little bit. So it's just a little deflating. It's just not quite as satisfying as maybe it would have been if he could sustain it or he had a little bit more inspiration, because it kind of kills so many people so quickly that you're kind of like, okay, this would have been the whole movie in the case of a lot of other films. It's like, where does it go from here? And I don't think Corbucci fully kind of answers where it should have gone after that. I don't know what he should have done, but it just like the moments of kind of great cathartic release happened so early in the film that it's just never quite as satisfying as it could have been otherwise.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. And like you said, I never want to tell like any filmmaker or director or whatever how they should make their movie, because that's not my place to do that. But you're definitely right. It's like it's very you almost expect the Gatling gun reveal to be like the climax of the film almost. And it comes like at the 30-minute mark, and you're right. It definitely goes a little bit like stale after that. I think it picks up in the third act a lot more, but yeah, you're definitely right. The second act is like it's the weakest part of this movie for sure. Yeah, absolutely, for sure. So yeah, I completely agree. And it might also be that he didn't single-handedly write this script. I mean, he wrote the script for The Great Silence in, I think he solely wrote that on his own, but I think he had co-writers on this.
I know at least his brother is credited for this film.
Yeah. And maybe...
so bring it on, Bruno.
Oh yeah. And
Bruno's fault.
Yeah, well, I don't know. I mean, maybe like creative differences or whatever. I'm not sure, but
there are 5 writers on this film, so
right. Well, there you go. That's like maybe that's like one too many voices in the room. I don't know.
Could be. Yeah.
That's
and maybe it's like you said, where he just doesn't quite have full reins yet. It's like he wanted to do this in the snow, but he wasn't allowed to do it. So maybe it's just simply kind of the constraints of working in a industry that costs a lot of money to make things.
Yeah, exactly. I guess. I mean, and you know, like I said, the set of the town was built on the back lot instead of the Great Silence, where they went. Well, we'll talk about it, but
Sure.
where he could actually shoot on location. Let's just say that. But yeah, no, that's definitely a thing. Do you have more issues with the film?
No, I think that's like kind of my main issue. I don't really have a problem. I mean, like the heist is fun and all, and that's in the second act, but it doesn't quite live up to the greatest set pieces of Django.
Right. No, exactly. All right. So I guess if we're done with this one, we can go into ratings for Django. So would you like to start? Should I?
I can go.
Okay.
Yeah,
Right.
I've slowly come up on this over the years, so I'm at an 8. I did also want to ask you, like, what do you think happened the next day? Did he just like die from all of his like hand infections or whatnot? I'm like, they made like so many sequels to this film, but like the realistic version is like Django infection. His like hands get super swollen and he just dies.
Right. Well, that's the funny thing. Like, I don't know if you've watched this, but there is actually an official sequel to Django. which I believe is Django Strikes Again. I believe it is. I think that's what it's called.
I have not seen this.
Oh, it's like from the 80s or whatever.
Yeah.
It came out in the 80s. And it's basically Django riding a riverboat, basically. You know, one of those like with giant like wheels and stuff that propel the boat. Like that's kind of so he's basically Django on a boat. But and there is no like mention of his hands or whatever in that whole film. It's like, oh,
Yeah.
I'm miraculously cured for some reason.
I mean, how did they avoid infection? I mean, all that mud and all those wounds. I mean, just nasty.
Yeah, you would think he would got like how do you say it, tetanus or whatever, some kind of infection.
Yeah, tetanus. Yeah.
Yeah,
he definitely needed medical treatment. I'll tell you that much.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I don't know. It's kind of funny, but yeah, again, the sequel doesn't mention this at all, so it's kind of funny when it comes to that. By the way, the sequel, it's not a really good film, honestly.
Okay.
So, but you know, might be fun to watch anyway. So yeah, again, ratings. Do you want to start? Should I?
Oh, I went 8. Yeah.
Oh, you went 8. Sorry.
Yeah, sorry.
Okay.
Sorry. I kind of sideward distracted you with.
Yeah, no. It's fair. No, it's fair. It's fair. It's that's the fun part of doing a podcast like that. So yeah, 8. No, that's a good one. We're very close. We're very close rating wise. So yeah, Django. I mean, I think ultimately this is one of my favorite. I always said Poliziotteschi's. This is one of my favorite spaghetti westerns. I really dig this one. It's just so original and unique in the genre, and that takes a lot of doing for that to happen, especially when you have like 100 desert set westerns and stuff. It's really hard to come up with a new angle, and Corbucci does it, so it's really great. There are some issues again, but overall I think this is just a very good time at the movies, and I can watch this multiple times and I never get bored because it is really good. So I will give it an 8.5 out of 10. So yeah, I just Franco Nero. It's Franco Nero. So there you go. Yeah. So 8.5. That's for me. So all right, that was Django. So I guess we can move on to the second one. Which is The Great Silence, of course, or Il Grande Silencio. I hope I said that right. It just sounds nice, Il Grande Silencio. The film isn't nice, but anyway, we'll talk about it. Again, released in 1968. Quick synopsis again. A mute bounty hunter helps the townspeople of Snow Hill fight the corrupt and tyrannical authorities when the husband of an outside woman is murdered. Again, that's basically what it is. So, yeah, The Great Silence. Yeah, where can we start? Let's talk again. General thoughts. What are your general thoughts on Sergio Corbucci's The Great Silence?
For me, at least, it's the one where everything comes together really, really well in this film. There's very, very little I would change. So for me, at least, it's probably my favorite Corbucci film, and I think probably the closest that he comes to just creating something perfect. And I mean, like, we can talk about like kind of the specifics of who made what and scoring and whatnot. But to me, at least, it's kind of like the most poetic. So kind of going into kind of Leone territory there. As far as what he achieves, but it's also something that's completely unique, just because of kind of the atmosphere and just kind of the ending as well. So I'm sure we'll get into a lot of those details, but those are my general thoughts about The Great Silence.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. It's just off the bat. I'm sure I'm going to say a lot of times. I adore this film. I adore The Great Silence. I think out of all the westerns, this is Corbucci's masterpiece. To me, this is his Once Upon a Time in the West. It's so good. It's really great. I mean, there are things that you can nitpick at for sure. I think we'll talk about that for sure. but I think overall this is his tour de force, kind of. And it's just such, again, like you said, it's such a unique film as well in the Western genre, spaghetti Western, but in the Western genre as well in general, I feel like. So it's very unique, very unique. So yeah, it's great. So so do you want to start with positives, or should I?
You could start.
Okay, fair enough. Because I would like to start with probably the biggest thing for me for this film, and that is Silvano Ippoliti's beautiful cinematography. I mean, here's the thing: there aren't many westerns, and I'm sure you know this from American westerns as well. There aren't many westerns, let alone spaghetti westerns, that are set in the snow. And so this movie is so gorgeously unique, like I said, in its scenery. I mean, they shot this film in the Swiss Alps, out of all the places they can go. And I believe it was shot on the border of Germany and Switzerland, I believe it was.
Okay.
But anyway, the Swiss Alps. And it works because the snowy mountains with, the tree-filled cliffs are absolutely stunning. You have snowstorms and icy lakes and just the backwater decaying town of Snow Hill. It all looks so incredibly beautiful. It's so, I mean, it just the image just mesmerizes you. And it's like it's almost like you want to be there. You want to be there in person when you go to Snow Hill or whatever. Not so much as the people, but the scenery, of course. It's just such a beautiful film to look at. But by the way, isn't it funny how the town of Snow Hill, which was again built on the back lot of the studios, of course, was covered in shaving foam, substituting as actual snow.
Huh.
But you can never tell the difference somehow.
They do a really good job. That's amazing.
That's so funny. Didn't you know that?
I didn't get to do a lot of back research on the production. I suppose I should have. But yeah, no, I didn't know that. No.
Okay, no, it's the set of the town, which is on the back lot, of course. That's not snow. That's shaving foam. And
okay.
And you can't tell the difference. It's really like, what? It's so good. It's so good. So again, I want to applaud Corbucci for doing that because it's really great. How do you feel about the imagery and the cinematography?
Oh, I think it's amazing. And I mean, well, I don't want to bring in the soundtrack too early, but I feel like those two kind of work in tandem to create this really amazing atmosphere and just kind of create the canvas for Corbucci to kind of paint this different story on. It's like just that music going over the credits at the beginning and just you see that snow and it's like some stuff you just can't fake. I mean, those locations in the Swiss Alps, it's like, yeah, you're not gonna fake those exactly in a set or whatever. So I mean, the way that he integrates that with the actual sets that they built in the backlot, it's just like A+ as far as those. So I think, yeah, I mean, I think if you're taking away images of this film, I mean, it's just that beautiful thing. And it's interesting to create such an ugly story on such a beautiful canvas. I mean, like that contrast, I think is really what makes The Great Silence as striking of a film as it is.
Well, that's another positive that I want to talk about in a bit, but the contrast of that. But yeah, I mean, it's, this is why I always say that practical effects and real locations are always better than green screen. Because it feels real and it feels natural. For example, I don't know if you are a fan of his, but Christopher Nolan.
Sure, I'm lukewarm.
Okay, but you have seen some films, right, of his?
Oh yeah, I've seen everything. Yeah.
Okay, well, at this point he's working on the Odyssey, which is basically the story of Ulysses, the Greek mythology.
Yeah.
And I'm very excited for that film. But he shot everything. He shot like Iceland and Italy and Morocco and he went to all of these places because real locations and actual built sets. And it helps to sell the story and the film because it feels so much more authentic than like you mentioned that before. I think it was in the Johnny Toe podcast where it's like, these Marvel movies and everything is against green screen because that's like, of course, I mean, it's cheaper, but it looks, like you said, it looks fake. And so again, kudos for Corbucci because that's like you said, A+ of this film. It's just it's so beautiful. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So let me throw it over to you. What are some of your positives about The Great Silence?
I think one of the most interesting things, and I think this is where the screenwriting of the people also comes into play, is the way that they just frame everything about being within the law and stuff. I mean, like the setup of like how they create like the bounty hunters killing people, and obviously that can be interpreted, like many people have, as being like kind of a reinterpretation of Leone, where his heroes were often bounty hunters, certainly in the Dollars trilogy and whatnot. And here they're really the villains, even though they're strictly speaking very legal. They're operating within the system. They're just manipulating it in a way to take advantage of people in a very, very cruel, sadistic way. So I think that stuff is really, really interesting if we're talking about kind of the subtext and some of the politics of the film and how they're using that to kind of track down like the outlaws. The outlaws in this film are not really bad people at all. They are people that are hungry, and the implication, I don't know how familiar you are with this group, but the implication that I've heard is that they are Mormons, which is an interesting Christian group that's mainly based in that area, Utah. And so they ended up mostly, I think it's mostly American, so I wouldn't expect you to really know, but yeah, they're kind of have their own reputation at this point, but they are kind of seen as a little bit of outsiders as far as like kind of mainstream Christianity and stuff like that. So you could see how that group could be kind of like religiously persecuted in the case of this film too. So I think all of that stuff is really, really fascinating material that Corbucci is working with.
Oh, it's very interesting, and like you said, I'm that part of American history I'm not very familiar with, but it's you're hitting a lot of marks. It's very interesting, especially since the main villain, which we'll talk about for sure, the main villain wears an Amish hat. It's like, which is of course kind of telling, but I'm sure we'll get to it. But to go along with what you're saying, that's also another positive that I want to throw out there. And we already talked about it, is that I really love the narrative and especially the metaphor of the story in this film. And there is a very particular shot near the end of the movie that serves as a very unique symbol about its look on society in the Old West. And that is when Tigreiro and his gang ride away from the saloon in the end after what they did. We'll talk about it, but what they did, in which the window captures Tigreiro's reflection, almost like a mirror, almost. But when the shot pans out, we slowly get to see what they have done and what they are leaving in their wake, basically. And I think that this symbolizes and captures in a stunning and beautiful way what Corbucci is trying to convey to the audience, that beneath the mirage of respectability and stillness and tolerance lies a world that is in fact very cruel and selfish and very, very violent. Does that make sense? Do you agree with that?
No, absolutely. And I mean, I think it's even made more powerful because Silence basically sacrifices himself for nothing. I mean, in the end, it's like it's a very very dark message. I mean, he's like he goes there, he gets his hand shot. I mean, I would hate to be someone in a Corbucci film. Your hands are just inevitably going to get screwed up at some point. But his hands get screwed up, and then he just gets mercilessly killed, and it doesn't matter at all because everyone else gets it anyways.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's
Yeah,
just brutal.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Like there is no real justice except private justice. That's kind of like, that's kind of what it is. And but we'll talk about the ending more in a bit. But yeah, I love the underlying message of this film and like the metaphor of it and what it's trying to say, what Corbucci is trying to say. And like we said, that was something that I felt was missing a bit from Django. But this movie does that so incredibly well. It's really and again, it's the script. It's such a strong script.
Sure.
So yeah.
The writing is just much tighter. You see the messages. It's like Django is filled with like racist Major Jackson or whatever, but it doesn't really add up to more than that.
Yeah, exactly. So, but again, back to you. What are some of the other things that you appreciate about this film?
I guess this would come as appreciation, but just building off that point too. It's sort of like because Corbucci, most of his westerns are fun. It's kind of like he just stripped out all the fun parts of that, and this is kind of what you're left with. It's like all the fun parts of Django, get rid of them. We're just here for like the grimmest different points of Corbucci. And so I don't think I'm the first person to make that point, but it is I had to think about that when I watched the film this time. I'm like, yeah, that kind of is what it is. It's just like melancholy and grim and just doomed. I mean, like the title of the film is almost like a red herring too. The Great Silence. It's like you expect this guy to be like the big Western hero, and for most of the film, he is kind of like Superman. But in the end, it's just kind of a good red herring and misdirect that he does there when the film ends the way that it does.
Yeah. I mean that's this film is very bleak, and it's I don't know. This is probably the bleakest spaghetti western, at least that I have seen. I mean, it really goes places. It's really dark in a lot of ways. I mean, I love it, but it's really dark. I mean, darker than you are used to, maybe, than spaghetti westerns.
I think so. I mean, I think part of it is just that it hits home too. Like you could try to be dark, you could kill a bunch of people, but if you don't care about them, it doesn't mean much. But Corbucci does a good job establishing people as like like the outlaws as being like pretty understandable people. That it just comes across as it hits you that much harder.
Yeah, exactly. So, but anyway, to go along with that, you already talked about it. Let's just talk about the characters here. I think the cast and the acting are phenomenal in this film. They're so good. You have French actor, a French actor in a Western, Jean-Louis Trintignant, of course. I think he's brilliant as Silence. I believe his real name is revealed as Gordon at some point in the flashback. But he is brilliant as he's not even an anti-hero. He's the hero. He's just pure hero here.
I mean, his is pure of a hero as I think Corbucci would ever really do. Maybe his earlier Westerns, there was someone, but it's like compared to Django, I mean, this guy is like a white knight.
Yeah, exactly. And I think it's so cool. He uses a freaking Mauser pistol as his weapon. Like, that's so funny. It's almost a little steampunk, because like who has a Mauser in the Old West? I mean, were those even invented back then? I mean, it doesn't matter.
I listened to something, and apparently it got invented the year before. So he would have had to have that imported very quickly.
Okay. Well, fair enough. But
technically
still
possible, very unlikely.
Yeah. Okay, fair enough. But so it's kind of accurate anyway. But still, it's so unique. Again, it's unique, and it's like really. And then he at some point he even like plugs an enlargement on it, and it's almost like I'm handing a machine gun or whatever. It's so right. It's so inventive. It's really cool. But again, I mean, acting in general is hard enough, but playing a mute, I mean, Silence is a mute character. Like playing a mute and being a character that has basically no lines in the film, except does he speak in the flashback? I think maybe one line or whatever.
Maybe one line.
Yeah,
not
something
much.
like
Yeah, I mean, and it's a kid actor anyway, so
yeah, exactly. So basically having no lines in the movie, that's just incredibly difficult, and the only thing that you really have to rely on are your eyes and body language. And I think he does just such a phenomenal job at performing that character. Do you agree with that?
Definitely. No, I mean, he's really, really good for a thing that doesn't have a role that doesn't have any lines. So I would definitely agree with you.
Yeah, no, exactly. So, and then let's just talk about, before we go to the villain, let's just talk about what we already talked about. Let's talk Vonetta McGee as Pauline Middleton. First of all, I love how she's portrayed as this grieving woman, this grieving widow who is seeking revenge in order to do justice by her husband, basically. But ultimately ends up with, falling in love with the man that she hired, basically. That's almost, you could almost say like that's so like Hollywood like. But it's in a good way, by the way. And it's completely mutual as well. I mean, Silence is falling for her too. And just, of course, the love scene, I think, is really beautifully crafted and framed, where there's just candlelight and the house is dark and stuff like that. It's really beautiful. But I also want to give kudos to Corbucci again for casting a woman of color. That back in the 60s, like, that was very much frowned upon, and it was not accepted at all. And I'm really surprised that he got away with this. So big kudos to Corbucci for making it work, because I imagine that he got a lot of backlash from that. How do you look at that whole situation?
Yeah, I don't know the Italian film industry quite well enough to say there, but that makes sense. I mean, it's also casting her in a very unusual role. I mean, this is Utah. You probably don't know the American state super well, but it's not exactly like a very black place. It's far from the places where a lot of black people would be associated. So the studio would have a very easy excuse to be like, oh, that doesn't make any sense. It's not realistic. But she's really good, and I think it gives that film the extra texture. It adds a lot of subtext too. I mean, you even have the great line where Tigreau is like, great line is in like very vile line that he says about like, what kind of world are we living in where a black man is worth more than a white man in this case? So it's like you have just like, yeah, it just adds a different text to the film.
Right. Yeah, exactly. But the dialogue works so well because it's the villain saying that.
Yeah.
And it comes across very well. But Vonetta McGee is just, she's really good in this. I would even dare say that I would put her on the same level of Claudia Cardinal as Jill, even though her role is not as big as Jill.
Sure.
I think she does such a phenomenal job at playing Pauline, and it's really, in a way, it's kind of sad because when you see where she finally ends up, it's like, oh man, it's like, but yeah, I mean, that's the story, I guess. But
sure. No, I mean, to your point too, I think she's really, really good too. And when you're just kind of laying out the role, you're right. The role sounds a little ridiculous, and the degree of difficulty is very, very hard, but they pull it off. I mean, part of it is a combination of her acting as well as I don't know. Now's my turn to butcher the names. Trintignant as acting as well as Corbucci's direction and the Morricone score. But it works amazingly well for like much better than you would think. Like if you pitch me that idea, I'd be like, I don't know, maybe rethink that a little bit. But it works. Like they pull it off. I mean, they really do a good job there. And I think the first time I saw this film, like Django, I've seen this film many times. I don't know if I loved it that much, but every time I watch it, I come to appreciate that part of the story even more.
Yeah, no, absolutely, totally. And it's like they totally make it work. And like you said, it in some ways it shouldn't really work, but it really does. And I think that a lot of that falls on Corbucci and his craft. But it's really it's great. It's great. Absolutely, it's great. But now let's talk about it, because of course our main villain, as Tigrero, or they call he's called Loco, I believe, in some areas as well, which I think is a lot better. I think that's a better name for him.
My version is called Loco. I don't.
Yeah. Loco. Yeah. What's with the spaghetti westerns with all of these funny names? You know, in like what was it again, in Blondie or whatever, or Harmonica, where it's, you know, these names are like a little out there.
Yeah, gotta give it to the Italians.
Yeah, exactly. But Tigrero or Loco, played by Klaus Kinski, of course. I think this is his best performance, I think, for Klaus Kinski, for me personally, in his acting career. Loco is, I mean, could there be a more sadistic character than Loco is? I mean, completely brutal, but in a sort of charming way. And you know, and he's the kind of person who can talk his way out of everything. Like, he's a smooth talker. He can, like, you know, like for example, when the sheriff takes him away to be, of course, arrested or to go to prison or whatever, and the poor sheriff, played by Frank Wolf, by the way, ends up at the bottom of the icy lake. I mean, you can just see Loco like snake his way out of a whole situation there, and it's so deliciously evil. It's really great. But he's also he's also the kind of person, like, he justifies his actions, like you said, under the pretense of being an agent of the law, and and that's almost like a you know, a thing that you can talk about in modern day society as well. But just like doing these horrific actions, and then hiding behind rhetoric and lawyers and all of that, it's so disgusting. But Klaus Kinski plays that so well, and but also very violent and nasty. I mean, like the way that the scene where he like horsewhips someone, you know what scene I'm talking about. I mean, that just speaks volumes of the character. How do you look at Loco?
No, absolutely. I think you hit a lot of it. I mean, like, in Kinski's looks are just so striking, like those blue eyes and stuff, and the way he's just so distinctive looking and has such a presence that like that combined with kind of the character that Corbucci created. I mean, for me at least, I also remember the scenes where he just kills the woman, like he kills the kind of that main prostitute when she's like, "I'm going to stop you, Loco," and then she shoots him, and he's like, "You all saw that? She shot first." And he just kind of mercilessly shoots her. Or Vonetta McGee's Pauline character, where she grabs Silence's gun at the end. You're like, oh, maybe she's going to manage to kill him too. And he's just like, he just so coldly reacts. I mean, it's just an ice cold performance by him. And it's yeah, I mean, I'm trying to think. It's definitely amongst the most memorable villains like ever, like including spaghetti westerns, whatever. It's just it's perhaps the strongest, most memorable performance you're going to get out of this film.
Yeah, Yeah, absolutely. So let me ask you something, because a bit of a sidetrack here,
Sure.
um, but it has to do with Klaus Kinski. So I think we all know, and I'm sure you know this too. Like, there is a lot of controversy around Klaus Kinski.
Sure.
I mean, it's no secret the guy was a Nazi sympathizer. Like, that. What can you say about that? But let me ask you this: can you enjoy a character or a film without liking the actor that plays the character?
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I've never had a problem separating the art and the artist. I know some people have a harder time with that. I don't know. Maybe I should feel bad about it, but I've never had a difficult time doing it. And I mean, he's probably a garbage human being from everything I've heard, but
Yeah,
like incredible actor, especially when he's used like he is here.
yeah. No, I completely agree. And I always say this: I'm not justifying anything that people do in their private lives, well, like the screwed up things they do or whatever. I mean, we can talk about what's his name again, Ezra Miller. I mean, we could talk about him all day long, and what he does in his private life. But I like you said, separate the art from the artist. And Klaus Kinski, very questionable decisions in his private life. But if you look at his acting career, I mean, there are so many great roles that he played. And for me, as a film fan or a viewer of these things, and just someone who can get really invested in a story and characters, at the end of the day, that's all that really matters to me. Like, good story, good characters, and if you make a good performance, if you portray a good character, then you have done your job. And what you do in your private life, whatever messed up stuff it is, I don't really care. So yeah, that's
Yeah.
kind of my take on it. So yeah, but no, you're definitely right. Klaus Kinski is definitely he's one of the more distinct villains in the, I think, in the spaghetti genre, but I think also in just the Italian cinema in general. I mean, it's just such a unique performance. And again, like we'll talk about it. Like you said, costumes. I mean, his costume as well. I mean, he wears like 10 scarves or whatever, and he has this Amish hat, and like what did he used to be, like a priest or whatever? It almost seems like it, but and just the way that he's dressed, but also Silence. I mean, Silence's costume is like amazing. The costume design is so good. What
Yeah.
do you think? What do you think of the costumes in this film?
Oh, they're great. I mean, like, I think at one point someone, maybe it's Frank Wolf's character, the sheriff, comments that he's like, Loco is wearing like a woman's coat and stuff like that
Yeah,
too. And you just get the impression that these people just cobbled their stuff together with what he ran across. And of course, Loco is probably taking this stuff off of people he killed.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah,
I mean, like at the end, I mean, he takes the Mauser too. So I mean, there you go. It's just yeah, no, I mean, I think the costumes are pretty great in this film. I mean, and it helps you to just create that kind of like already existing in the snow and stuff. It helps to create that kind of extra chilly thing because people are wearing so many clothes and so many layers to start with.
yeah, yeah. Absolutely, absolutely. So, I mean, what else? Do you have more positives on The Great Silence?
I do, yeah. I mean, we've already talked a lot about the performers, but the last two of the main performers too, Frank Wolf and Luigi Pistilli,
Oh
both
yeah,
I
yeah,
think
of course.
really, really good too.
Yeah,
Uh, Frank Wolf, who was Jewish, I think was getting needled quite a bit by Kinski because of because he was Jewish. I think he's American Jewish.
probably.
So apparently they really, really disliked each other. And I think he's really good in the film too. I think he's a really quality actor. I mean, he's like the guy in Once Upon a Time in the West, and he was in a brief stretch some pretty good Italian films, Caliber 9 as well. I like him a lot in this film as kind of being the other kind of main good character in it, and so it's kind of sad. And it's like we're so used to movie tropes that I think everyone is expecting him to come back at the end and have justice. He's like the one saving grace. Somehow he'd escape that icy thing, but the film is far more grounded in probably what the reality would have been. And Pistilli is just, he's a fantastic actor in his own right. And I like the way that it layers the villains. So you kind of have the bounty hunter villain in Kinski, and then I forget what Pistilli's character's name is, but you have his villain too, who is like kind of just sleazy and a nasty person on a different level. And it kind of just shows, and it makes a little more credibility towards the systemic criticisms that the film has towards kind of like the financial systems. Like I think he's the banker of the town that allow this sorts of corruption and nastiness and murder and things to take place. And one of the podcasts I listened to in preparation for this too was talking a bit about how silence in the end was kind of ineffective because Pistilli, he took revenge on Pistilli by shooting his hands or whatever. But in the end, Pistilli figured out a way to just kind of continue to be even worse, perhaps, than he was when he was just an outright murderer. Really interesting. Both their characters, I think, are well constructed and they're excellent secondary ones. And I think, talking through these films with you, I think that's one thing where Django is maybe a little bit weaker just because they don't have that kind of secondary characters, the strength of them that this film does have.
Oh yeah, I think this movie definitely has stronger characters, a lot stronger characters, whether they are the main characters or supporting characters. And yeah, like you said, Luigi Pistilli is great. I mean, I love him regardless. And like you said, he's kind of like the corrupt banker of the town. Polycut is his name, and and again, it's like he hides behind his money. He hides his corruption behind money, and he uses that money to, of course, to pay the bounty hunters. So it's basically like blood money, basically. But again, the message there, it's like hiding behind other things to justify your evil deeds. And Frank Wolf is like, I mean. I agree that in a lot of ways he's very similar to Silence. I think the one difference though is that Frank Wolf, I forget the sheriff's name, but
Burnett, I think, something like that.
Oh yeah, sorry, Burnett. Yes, Burnett. I think the one difference is that Frank Wolf's Burnett is just, he's so incredibly naive. He believes so much in the system and doing the right thing that will eventually be his downfall. I feel like he has like a plate in front of his eyes or whatever. He refuses to see the truth, and he's so in a way that also makes him kind of like gullible or whatever. He's like very. It's almost as if he doesn't want to see what's happening.
Yeah.
Because he wants to hold on to, some sort of thing from the past or whatever. Does that make sense?
It does. Yeah. In some ways he's pretty competent. In other ways he's pretty bumbling. But he does a good job with kind of that dichotomy of the character with having both those traits.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, I mean, I forgot about that, but yeah, the supporting cast is great as well. And like you said, the characters are just much stronger in this. I have one final positive before I go into issues, if I have any, because we danced around it quite a bit, but we have to talk about it, of course. Ennio Morricone. And I mean, the score for this movie is like it's so. I mean, the man just can't make a bad soundtrack. It's like impossible for him in some way. It's so interesting, and like a true maestro. And it's just, especially I think my favorite one is like the one I played in the intro, the opening scene in which you see Silence like strutting through the snowy wastelands and stuff. I mean, that sound is just so beautiful. You already said some about it, but what do you think of the soundtrack and Ennio Morricone for this one?
Oh, it's really beautiful, and it creates like this very elegiac feel to the film where, yeah, it just complements it wonderfully. I mean, I couldn't think of, I don't think it could be any better. It's amongst my favorites. I think it's right up there with the Dollars trilogy as being like an all-timer soundtrack. Um, yeah, it's just perfect.
Yeah. No, I agree. It's really great. And you, like you said before, the score also helps to it fills in the imagery. Basically, it complements the imagery as well in a lot of ways. So yeah, again, well done from Ennio Morricone. He can't make a bad score. It's
Yeah.
like that's just what it
He
is.
definitely needs our praise at this point. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. It's like if we haven't said it enough, like
Yeah.
it's kudos to Morricone. But
Good
yeah,
job, Ennio. Yeah, you nailed that one.
yeah, that one. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So yeah, the score is great. So yeah, that was kind of my last positive on it. Do you have like more positives on The Great Silence?
I do. I'll just run
Okay.
through two things really fast.
Yeah,
One
okay.
thing is I think the writing is just tighter and better in this film.
Yeah.
Just the way it sets up, like even Loco or Tigrero hiding that gun there, where we know in the past that he has like buried bodies and things like that. So he like knows this terrain. And so him like manipulating Burnett, where he was like, oh, I got to take a dump. It's like, oh God, we know exactly where this is going. And like him having that kind of cunning nature, it's just like perfectly set up earlier in the film where they tip their hand, but not that much that you're like, you know exactly where it's going to go. So I think the writing by the writers was just really good. And just the last thing I have is the explosive violence of the set piece where he does kill all of Loco's friends in that bar is just really, really captivating. And it's like, I think these spaghetti westerns have like, they're not really action films in the sense of like long sustained set pieces,
Mm.
but Leone was good at this too, where it just explodes into violence for about 20 seconds and then it's over. It's like Loco gets thrown out of the bar basically. And in the moment that it takes him to turn around, his buddies reach for their guns and all of them are dead.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a pretty incredible moment too, and that's definitely one where like, damn, it's like Corbucci was cooking here. So yeah, those are that's it.
Okay. No, I definitely agree. I mean, they're not like action-filled movies like you would expect from Poliziotteschi or whatever, but there are definitely set pieces there. And I feel like you said, I think, Leone did this as well. For example, The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, when he portrays the Civil War, the American Civil War. I mean, he would show 3 minutes there, and then 1 minute there, and then 4 minutes there, and then 5 seconds there. It's just like kind of thrown together, but it really works. But you never get like 10-minute action scenes or whatever. But I don't think you really need that as well.
No, I agree. Yeah.
Yeah. And in terms again, to Guerrero or Loco, I mean, he's like a chameleon. Like he can blend into anything. There is also like a scene where he sort of he has killed someone, and then because he's also so like conniving, or he's calculating, that's what I'm looking for, when he kills someone, and then he slowly takes out like a notepad and then he flips over a thing, and then sort of before he starts writing, he wets his pencil or whatever, like this is gonna be good, and then he writes it down or whatever. It's so great.
They just nailed all those details with him too. It's just like the way he gives people's instructions to preserve the bodies and stuff. He's like, put him out there where his body will be preserved, but don't bury him, that sort of thing.
Yeah, it's really great. But that is what a good villain should be. So again, well done from all sides there. I mean, like I said, I'm pretty much done with my positives. I do have like one sort of issue that I want to talk about, but before I'll let you finish. Did you have any more positives, or were you done?
I'm good. Yeah.
Okay. So can I start with my issue with it?
Sure.
Okay. Because I want to throw this out at you and have your take on this. Okay. because now is the time where I want to talk about the ending. All right, so this film takes the same climax as Sergio Martino's Silent Action does, in which basically all the heroes are killed off, and Loco is basically has mass murdered the entire town, and we see the same in Silent Action, where the main villain played by Mel Ferrer is entering a sort of building, probably to plan his next coup d'etat or whatever. And here we see Loco, of course, riding into the sunset and probably coming later to collect all of the bodies so he can be a rich man or whatever. But he basically mass murders an entire town. So this movie is the ending of this movie is so bleak and violent and brutal and just really cynical and depressing. It's even more so than Django. I mean, I think this is really an acquired taste. Like, if you would really have to know who you are when you're watching this, because again, if you're going for the more lighthearted thing, like you're going to be so turned off by this movie when it ends, like it's going to leave you in a very bad mood. And I just don't know if a lot of people would be able to get in the line for that in experience. I mean, we are, of course, but I mean, I don't know. I guess my question is, was that really the proper way the movie should have ended? Or maybe should Corbucci have gone for a little bit more hopeful ending? Because he shot I think he shot two alternate endings to this, which are a little bit more on the upside, I guess. So I guess that's my question to you. Like, should Corbucci have had a more hopeful ending, or is this what the film has to be?
I think the film is more effective because of what it is. I think if you made it a happier ending, it would still be a good movie, because a lot of what we talked about is still true. But it wouldn't pack the same punch that it does, in my opinion. Like the fact that he just went all the way there and had that, it makes the film. I don't say this film depends on its ending necessarily, but I think that ending gives it like that extra boost that, for me at least, makes it kind of an all-timer film. And for me at least, when you're saying that this is like Corbucci's masterpiece, I actually completely agree with that. This is like by far my favorite Corbucci, and I like a lot of his films, but I think this film is always going to be kind of the ultimate standout. And I think the ending has to be a pretty big reason why.
No, I personally I agree, and it's just I remember watching this film for the first time, and then the ending happened, and I was puzzled for 15 minutes. It's like, what did I just watch? Really? And that's kind of like the feeling that do you really want that from your audience? I guess for this one you do. So maybe I shouldn't say it's a negative. It's more of a nitpick, maybe,
Sure.
because it's so downbeat, and Silent Action is downbeat as well, but this one is really downbeat. And yeah, I guess I don't know.
I don't know if you've seen the alternate endings. I've seen one of them, and you could tell that Corbucci made it so ridiculous that they had to use this one. Yeah. It's been a while since I've seen it, but that's what I remember. I remember like Frank Wolf coming back, and it's almost like the end of a Hollywood musical or something. It's so silly. Yeah, I think the uncompromising ending is what makes the great silence the great silence.
Yeah. No, I completely agree. And to answer your question, by the way, I watched it on. I have the Eureka Films one.
Okay.
Right here.
I have a different one.
Oh, okay.
Man, I just put it away, but
okay.
yeah. It's some American label. So
Oh, okay, fair enough. But yeah, I have this one, and actually, the two alternate endings are on this disc, and so after watching it in the original version, I watched the ending that you talked about with Frank Wolf, and it's just so, I don't know, it's so like Disney fairy tale. It's really like what? How does that make sense? Really? So yeah, in that way, I guess the alternate ending doesn't work. I haven't watched the third alternate ending yet, but I'm sure I'll get to that. But yeah, I mean, I for me personally, I love the ending of The Great Silence. I think it's a real gut punch, you know. But yeah, it's just something that made me think about it this time around. So you know, that's what I'm saying. So, what about you? Do you have any issues or negatives with The Great Silence?
I mean, in honesty, no. But I did want to flag one thing, and that is that bounty hunter's chicken eating, which is just very, very nasty.
Yeah, it is.
All the sound effects and stuff like that. In a Jest world, there should have been a bounty on that guy's head just based off of how he deconstructed that admittedly tasty looking chicken. Just all the sound effects and stuff like that. Yeah, I know. Maybe in 2025, that guy can like make a ASMR YouTube channel or just eating chicken or something like that. But yeah, and just the way he was like wiping up everything, I'm like, okay, this guy needs to die.
Yeah, exactly.
Silence was there very quickly.
Yeah, exactly. And when you talk about that scene, I would ask one thing about Corbucci. Like, for all the westerns where you focus on the eyes, why do you have to focus on the mouth? Really? Like, do we really have to see that? Really? It's kind of funny.
Well, Fulci had his eyes, Corbucci had the mouth, I guess.
Yeah, that's fair, I guess. So okay, so you don't have any negatives, basically, so you said. So
no.
Yeah, I think I'm pretty much done with this one, so we could go into ratings again.
Sure.
Yeah. All right. So do you want to go first? Should I?
I could go. For me, at least, this film is a 10 out of 10. So a perfect score for me. For a film that is such a bummer to watch, I've rewatched it several times, and I actually don't mind watching it every few years. I'm not someone that watches a film like 5 times a year or anything like that. No. I mean, it's such a strong movie that I just love it. I mean, like, there's beauty in there, and it's an ugly story, but it's really compelling. And there's really just nothing like it.
No, I completely agree. I'm very close to yours once again. So I mean, yeah, The Great Silence. It's I mean, again, this is Sergio Corbucci's masterpiece. I think, in my opinion, this is the movie that he wanted to make originally, of course, and he did it, and he succeeded in every way. This is such a phenomenal film, and it's really great. And the only thing I would say about it is that you know who you are as an audience member when you're going to watch this, because you might be a little depressed by the ending of it. But that's the only thing I would say about it. But apart from that, this is a masterpiece, and it's one of the best spaghetti westerns, I think, in the whole genre. So I will give it a 9.5 out of 10. It's just, this film is so great. It's really fantastic. Yeah. It really is. So yeah, The Great Silence. That's the second one we were going to talk about. So one final question, if you have the time, before I let you go.
Yeah.
Okay. So because this is our first time talking about spaghetti westerns, especially when you look at these two movies that we talked about, Django, The Great Silence, which are spaghetti westerns that are pretty brutal and that sort of stuff. When people want to discover the spaghetti western, would you? Ooh, what's happening there?
Sorry, there's a very loud car.
Okay. There you go. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
There you go.
They think they're in a Poliziotteschi.
Poliziotteschi. Yeah. Yeah, no, I mean, for people who want to go into spaghetti westerns, discovering them, would you recommend these films, or would you say that it would be better for them to watch something more lighter, like, for example, I don't know, Bandidos or whatever?
Pains me to say it, but probably something lighter. I think these make sense as maybe like the 8th or 9th spaghetti western that you watch. Probably Django more than Great Silence, even though Great Silence is right up there. I think Great Silence is more. I think especially if you watch the Dollars trilogy first, which is, I mean, I think most people would say that's the most logical introduction to spaghetti western. Just what that does with kind of the bounty hunter scheme, I think that adds to kind of the richness of the subtext of the film too. So as much as I love them, I don't think they make sense as like the initial introduction to spaghetti westerns, but definitely must sees. So if you get like 8 or 9 spaghetti westerns in, you should definitely watch these.
No, I agree. I would especially the Great Silence is. I mean, the Great Silence is like a very heavy meal that you really have to like dig into. And if you look at something like Bandidos or whatever, that's probably like McDonald's or whatever.
I like Bandidos too. That's a good movie, but yeah, it's
to have a bit of a food analogy there. So I would probably pick something like Bandidos or A Fistful of Dollars or whatever. Just films that are a little bit more easy to get into, and then once you settle into the genre, then you can start to dive into, the reason I think about this is like when a colleague of mine is starting to discover Poliziotteschi films, and I said, okay, well, which ones have you watched? And he started with Silent Action. And I was like, really? That's like the most depressing downbeat Poliziotteschi there is. It's like, do you really want to watch that first? It's like, I don't know if you should start there. Yeah. So yeah, I would say start somewhere else and then ease your way into, the heavier ones. That for sure. Yeah. I would say that.
Yeah, I mean, and spaghetti westerns in their case, like the easier ones, also happen to be made by like one of the greatest directors, Leone. So it's a very logical introduction.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, absolutely. Especially Leone when you talk about Leone. So, I mean, the Dollars trilogy. What can you say? So that was the final question I want to ask you. So I think it's probably about time we close this off. This has been a lot of fun doing the first Western podcast with you. This was great to do. So let me take it out. So everyone who has been watching and listening, thank you all very much. This is probably the last podcast of 2025 because Christmas is coming, New Year's is coming and all that. So the holidays are upon us and, stuff like that. We have other shenanigans, so to speak. But I will be back, and I'm sure other people will be back in 2026 as well. And we'll just keep on rolling as we go. So again, thank you all for watching and listening. James, thank you for being here once again. And hopefully you will do another one of these in 2026 with me.
Yeah.
Where can people find you?
You can find me on the Italian Poliziotteschi and Gialli YouTube channel, where I am talking about both of those genres.
There you go. So, So again, thank you. It was great to have you here, James. And we'll talk. We'll talk about doing something in the future. Anyway, with that said, again, thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. Have a good weekend, everyone. Stay safe and healthy as always. And I will see and talk to you guys very, very soon. So see you all. And James, see ya. And we'll talk. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.